The laughter stopped the moment she whispered, "I shouldn't have come." She was standing across from me in a small restaurant, one hand resting protectively over her pregnant belly, while the three friends who had arranged our meeting suddenly found excuses to look away. What had started as a cruel joke was about to become the most important encounter of my life. I had agreed to the blind date because my friends kept telling me I needed to stop living like the world had already ended. I was 32, worked long hours, lived alone, and had spent the last few years keeping everyone at a safe distance. They promised the woman they had chosen was kind, funny, and completely unexpected. What they failed to mention was that she was pregnant. When I arrived and saw her sitting alone by the window, wearing a simple blue dress and nervously holding a glass of water, I immediately understood the joke. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness can change someone's life and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like, comment, share this story, and subscribe to Kindness Space. Your support helps these emotional stories reach people who may need their message. Her name was Emma. She was 29, with soft brown hair tied loosely behind her shoulders and tired eyes that looked as though she had spent too many nights trying not to cry. She stood when I approached, apologized for taking the table, and quietly explained that she had been told this was simply a casual meeting. I could see the embarrassment on her face. She expected me to laugh, walk away, or make some cruel comment. Instead, I pulled out the chair and sat down. We talked for almost an hour, not about dating, not about the pregnancy. We talked about ordinary things. Books, terrible coffee, childhood dreams, and the strange ways life could change without warning. Slowly, her shoulders relaxed. Then she told me the truth. The baby's father had disappeared when he learned she was pregnant. Her family had blamed her. Her friends had stopped calling. She had come to the restaurant because she was tired of being treated like a problem people wanted to avoid. Then she looked down at her hands and whispered again that she shouldn't have come. I told her that maybe neither of us had come for the reason we thought. She gave me a confused smile, and for the first time that evening I saw a little hope in her eyes. The next morning I discovered what my friends had really done. They had recorded parts of the evening and planned to share them in their group chat as a joke. I was furious. But when I saw Emma's face in one of the recordings, I realized the joke had consequences far beyond embarrassment. I called her and apologized, even though I hadn't created the joke. She said she understood. Then she surprised me by asking whether I wanted to have coffee again. That coffee became another, then another. I learned that Emma was working 2 jobs while preparing for the baby. She had very little money and almost no support. I never tried to become her hero. I simply showed up when I said I would. I helped carry boxes when she moved into a smaller apartment. I fixed a broken shelf. I listened when she was frightened. And whenever she insisted she was a burden, I reminded her that needing someone did not make her weak. Months passed. Our friendship became something deeper, something neither of us dared to name. Then one rainy evening, Emma called me from the hospital. She was frightened. The baby was coming early. I drove through the rain with my hands gripping the steering wheel, terrified that I might arrive too late. When I reached the hospital, I found her mother sitting alone in the waiting area. She looked at me and asked who I was. I simply said, "Someone who promised Emma she wouldn't have to face everything alone." Hours later, a nurse finally appeared with a smile. The baby was healthy. When I entered the room, Emma was exhausted, tears running quietly down her cheeks. She looked at the tiny child sleeping beside her and then at me. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. I understood that the woman who had entered a restaurant believing she was the punchline of someone's joke had become one of the most important people in my life. A year later, we returned to that same restaurant. This time, Emma wasn't alone. The little girl was sitting beside her, laughing as she played with a spoon. Emma looked around the room and smiled. She told me that night had changed everything. I told her it hadn't been the joke that changed our lives. It was the decision not to let someone else's cruelty determine what happened next. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still matters, and subscribe to Kindness Space for more stories of hope, second chances, and unexpected beginnings. And before the ending, I have one special request. Comment "Kindness gives people another chance" if you believe one small act of compassion can change a life. Sometimes life introduces us to people in the strangest ways. Sometimes the moment meant to humiliate us becomes the moment that saves us. Emma walked into that restaurant believing she was someone's joke. She walked out with something far more valuable, a reason to believe that not everyone would leave her behind.